It's time to take a deep dive into real estate for all across the country and see what's happening right now in real estate. Let's take a look. So let's take a look at sellers and buyers and what's going on in the status of real estate. So right now, we just got new numbers for the homeowners, how long homeowners are staying in their property before moving to their next one. And after the recession, you saw that it had went up. It was around 6 years for the longest time. Since 1985 the average was 6 years. And then 2008, it jumped up to 7, and then all the way up to the last 2 years, it's actually been 10 years on average people were staying in their homes. For 2021, it looks like it's going to drop down to 8 years. This is actually the biggest drop since they started recording these numbers ever. So we haven't seen a 2-year drop like that before. So obviously the pandemic did make people want to go on the move. And what does this mean for real estate for 2022? Well, I think that we're actually going to see more listings and a stronger spring market coming up this year. So watch out for that. We're going to see if I'm correct about this prediction, but signs show that we're going to see more listings in 2022 this spring. Well, we do need those listings though, because as you can see here, look at this month supply of inventory, 2.4 months for October. As a reminder, a lot of the national statistics are lagging 1 month because it takes a while to get those numbers, but got the numbers back for October, 2.4 months held steady from September. So we'll see what happens and how it recorded in November next month. I always like to picture it on a graph like this because people always ask, are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? Well, as you can see, these national numbers are showing us we are still very much in a seller's market and still actually trending downward a little bit more and more into a seller's market. Now, let's see if demand can keep up with this seller's market. Here is a state statistic for you. We've talked about showing time in previous videos, and a lot of it's been on national-wide numbers. I wanted to get you a statewide statistic. I can't get totally just in Reno, but I can get you Nevada. And you can see here, it's a lot of lines and data on here, and I'm going to explain this chart to you as best as possible. First thing to take note, the orange line is 2021, this year. Where they're all stemming from, you can see they all stem from 0%. So what it looks like, what it starts at is January 1st of that year, so either 2019, 2020, or 2021, and it's going to compare every single measurement of where it was comparatively to January 1st of that year. So you can see that big dip in end of March and into April. You can see that was that pandemic in 2020 when that hit and the showings dropped. So it was comparing showings from March 27th, that line there. It's comparing, that was more than 50% drop comparatively to showings in January 1st of 2020. I hope that makes sense. Tried my best to explain it. So what showing time is our showing service that we use to schedule showings to go to homes. So this is essentially buyer activity out there. And you can see, look at the orange in here. I thought this was super interesting. You can see that the orange is starting to, of 2021 essentially, has been starting to go downward and actually be the second half of this year. It's been mostly below 2020 and 2019 numbers. So we can see that buyer activity has slowed a little bit. I think a lot of this is we had buyer fatigue. Interest rates have ticked up a little bit, so that incentive is kind of not as strong as it was. So we're going to see what happens, and follow this into 2022. But I have noticed, seemed like buyer activity has dropped a little bit in showings on listings. This graph actually came from Redfin, and it was investors who purchased homes each quarter it's measuring. So you can see measuring basically from the beginning of the 2000s all the way. So 21 years of data right here. And you can see it's kind of been trending upwards. What percent of homes sold were purchased by investors? Q3 of 2021 set an all-time record, over 18%. So we're nearing almost 1 out of every 5 homes now are actually being purchased by an investor. My theory is, as these interest rates start to go up a little bit, people start moving. I don't think we're going to see numbers really stretch much higher than that, but we'll have to see in 2022. but I thought that was pretty significant. And it's kind of interesting seeing how over the years we've seen more and more investors get into real estate and purchasing each quarter. I always like to round up these videos with mortgage rates, where they're at and where they're going. And you can see this is the last 2 years, essentially, from beginning of 2020 until today. And you can see beginning of 2020, we were over 3.7% interest rates. And today, after kind of riding through this all, around 3.1. Now that's like an ideal, perfect credit situation. Talked to my lender actually today on the phone, and most people right now are getting quoted right around 3.5% or so, give or take a little bit. Just obviously depends on your down payment and credit worthiness. So definitely, if you need a recommendation on lender, let me know. I've got a good person for you and make a few recommendations. So now, the Fed is intending to raise interest rates in 2022. Now, what does this mean? Now, when you hear the Fed increases interest rates, it does not mean that they're raising mortgage interest rates. That's separate, but it normally is correlated. So when the Fed increases interest rates, normally the mortgage rates increase as well. So we do anticipate for 2022 the interest rates to go upward. You remember that last slide I showed you had 3.1% for as of today of filming? Well, you can see that we're going to be up basically about where we were for beginning of January 2020. So right in there. So the interest rates are likely to climb up. So if you are thinking about making a purchase, don't wait. Let's get connected, chat about it, and see if our getting into a home sooner rather than later is going to be a more financial good decision for you now. So we'll connect. I'll put my phone number in the description box below, and you can click on it. Or actually, here it is right here for you. Check it out. Give me a call, and I'll help you out. Finally, if you are even considering buying and selling, and maybe you just will have a few more questions about it, I've got the new winter guides for 2022 in there. What this is going to do is have some more stats of what I've talked about today and go in more in depth of some more information about whether you're buying or selling in real estate. If you want to get this guide, I've got the links in it, the description box below. Be sure to click on them and you'll get your guide for free today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button below or right over here, as well as watch my other YouTube videos right over here. I try to post almost every week for you. I hope to see you next week. Thanks so much for watching and have a great December.